Hey, welcome to class. Come on in. Let's get you started on some loneliness hacks to get you coping so well with this period of time where you don't have a lot of relationships or people around. So you might be dealing with recovery from a divorce, or maybe you just never really had good romantic kind of connections, or maybe you just want to learn how to cope a little bit better with the single life. I know how much it can suck because I'd been there, and my professional skills are going to come in and help us out here so that we're getting you on the right track with some loneliness busters that are really going to help. When I went through my single years, I was in college and my mom had suddenly died. It was devastating. I mean, can you imagine being a young adult, not fully launched, and then all of a sudden your custodial parent just suddenly dies? It was devastating for me. And so I did what most people would probably end up doing, is you just kind of reach out wherever you can. Maybe you try to reach out to church groups or people that you know through a school system, your community, and it can bring you to kind of dead ends in the road. And so that's a really, really big struggle. So dealing with loneliness while you're going through, where are you living, who are you coupled up with, can be really hard to deal with on your own. So these loneliness busters are going to help you out with the emotional stuff that's underneath all of that so that you can get through it and have a real good friend base to connect with as you go through this phase. So let's get you started on the 8 loneliness busters so that you're not fumbling around with being single and alone. The first buster that you want to try on here is learning how to say yes to new opportunities for networking and friendship. This does not mean that you compromise your safety and do things that go against your value system. We're talking about the default to no habit that tends to happen for a lot of us when we're single. So you might end up saying no to things like going to maybe a bar with a friend. Now, if you don't have a substance problem, then that would be a safe opportunity for you to go with a group of friends and have a night out, even if you just drink water while you're there. If it's a safety risk, so somebody like a substance abuse problem, you wouldn't find them saying yes to something like that because it would violate their safety and moral standard. So different things are going to be a yes or no depending on what your value system is. Again, if it is reasonably safe to pursue a situation, you want to try new things out sometimes. Go with a new friend group. Go with, people who are inviting you to events, and learn how to experience new things and see if there are some things that these new experiences can kind of calm down and diffuse the loneliness that you're struggling with. I've done those things myself, and sometimes these things can be quite boring. Going to, let's say, an academic talk at a university that your friend's going to might not be how you expected to spend your Friday or Saturday evenings. However, if you go, you might meet new people who are also feeling the same way you are about the event, but they end up going because they're just trying to expand their horizons a little bit. I remember one time I went to a history talk at a university with a friend, and it was not my cup of tea as far as what I wanted to learn, but it was interesting enough. I did learn a few things while I was there, and I met some new people while I was there. It may not have been, I didn't meet the love of my life or anything, or my best friends or anything like that, but it was a new experience. It calmed the boredom and the loneliness, and it was just one of the things that helped me get through that phase of life. So think of it as a nice, pleasant distraction that might open some doors if you allow it. The second loneliness buster you want to consider trying on here has to do with what some doctors call skin hunger. And what this means is that the body can actually crave human touch. They've discovered this with babies who will not thrive when they're born if they don't have physical touch with a human being. We've even found this with the animal population as well at times. So when you are craving touch with another human being, you can get this need met through self-massages, self-touching, hugging, things like that. You can also get the need met through any sort of consensual touch with another human being. So it might be you go to a friend's house and you just sit back to back so you can have that physical touch. So many ways can get this need met. It is an authentic need to be around human beings. And if you've been through any sort of health quarantine, then you might be dealing with this a little bit more than other people. So if you start feeling a sense of irritation, a sense of just like kind of a blah, and things just aren't seeming to feel real good, and you are also isolated, this might be something that you want to explore. So remember, this can be touched through you being able to just kind of touch on your own skin, and it can also be things where we're seeking consensual touch with other people, and there's a whole spectrum of how we can get that need met. But just remember that human to human contact can be important for many people. The third loneliness buster you want to try on is going through what makes you happy and not focusing on a relationship to be the thing that fixes that. This can be really hard work, but we can't allow our relationships to be our happiness in life, because relationships will always end at some point. They may end later in life when somebody passes away. They may end early in life through some sort of illness. They may end right at the beginning through a breakup. But whatever the situation, relationships by nature have a beginning and an end. And when you're going through all of this, you want to make sure that your happiness is outside of your relationship. And so when we're going through life, we're seeking hobbies, we're seeking interest, we're trying to be our own person apart from our relationship. If we're all consumed by a relationship, I can almost guarantee you at some point later on in life, you're going to have this aha moment like, whoa, like, a family doesn't define my life anymore. Who am I? What am I? What do I do with myself? So it is important that we diversify our coping tools and making sure that our happiness isn't fulfilled by a relationship alone. The fourth loneliness buster has to do with your social group. So I want you to really think about being around people who really see you, really know you, and just really they may not know all the events in your life or anything like that, but they see who you really are. We can have many friends who know all the events in our lives who really don't actually see us. So this is about authenticity, seeking people in your life who are non-judgmental. They're accepting through any phase that you go through. They're allowing you to grow as long as what you're doing is healthy for the entire group of people. You want to make sure that that the groups that you're around do authentically see you, and that you're not off growing despondent by yourself. You being around people is a healing agent, and it's much more healing to be around authentic, caring, accepting people when you're healing and recovering or going through some sort of experience where you feel negative about yourself. So seek authentic, healthy connection with other people so that you can really heal your heart and move on with life. The fifth loneliness buster has to do with you using your body and mind to its fullest potential while you're feeling this sense of loneliness. Listen to your body. Your body is telling you that you're alone right now, and that's not a good thing for you right now. It feels bad because it's something that we want to learn to grow through. So when you are alone, if you're feeling alone, maybe you have a lot of people around you, but you're in this position of being alone, this is the time to fix things. And how we do that is listening. We listen to the body and mind and get more active. So moving your body and being around mentally stimulating situations is going to be something that helps you with any sense of boredom that might trigger your loneliness. So make sure that you're seeking things that are mentally stimulating, as well as physically stimulating to what your body is capable of doing right now. And so if all that you're capable of doing is getting on a game and chatting with people online, if that's what you physically and mentally are capable of, then that's what we choose in the moment. So think about what things could be stimulating to you and break out any boredom that might be triggering your loneliness. The sixth loneliness buster that I have for you today is probably going to surprise you just a little bit. What we're going to do with our loneliness busters now is giving to other people. So when you are more prone to give to other people, to volunteer for organizations, and I'm not talking about making donations, I'm talking about actually giving of yourself, giving of your time to some sort of cause or organization. And this is going to unlock this sense of analyzing yourself so that you're looking outward instead of looking for a problem being inwards. So you are a beautiful, wonderful person, and we want to accept and appreciate that. So defuse your loneliness by working on giving and ungluing from all of that negativity, and you give to other people something positive. What we do with other people can sometimes be the thing that helps us do that for ourselves. Give to other people, be positive with other people, and maybe it'll help you be more positive in giving to you. And that might be the thing that helps you with a little bit of self-esteem. The seventh loneliness buster that I have for you is a pretty important one. This is about determining the difference between loneliness, the event, versus loneliness, the emotion. So loneliness, the event, has to do with actually being alone. So carving out a life where people are not in your life, you don't see people regularly, they don't see you or know you. The event of being alone can be very different from the emotion of feeling alone. You might be around other people every day, all day long, and still feel very much alone. And determining if your loneliness has to do with physically being alone versus feeling alone is the first step in fixing it. So determine which situation you're in. Is it a problem of feeling alone and struggling with dealing with it? And then in that case, we have to learn how to cope with the feeling, the sensations around it, the thoughts that are driving it. Now, if it's the event of being alone, we might do some practical fixing. So this might be with, what we do to make sure we're around other people. So if we live in a very remote area, that might be that we figure out what is the frequency where I can be around other people, the situations I can be around other people. It might be joining a certain, event in the community, and going back to volunteering might help you with this. So again, determine, am I dealing with a feeling issue or a situational practical issue? And then that can help you to, bust that loneliness. So you might have something that is relatively practical to fix, and it might be a little bit easier to deal with. If you're dealing with the emotion of loneliness, it's going to be a little bit more complicated, but it's an internal issue that we can then work through and get to a much more positive place, sometimes just by talking to people and being around a community that really listens and sees you. Your final loneliness buster that you're definitely going to want to try on today has to do with an attitude. I want you to think about maintaining an attitude that you don't find the ideal partner. That doesn't exist. It's what all the dating apps are based on, and that's why dating fails so much of the time. Yeah, it works for a lot of people. It also doesn't work for a lot of people. So you want to maintain an attitude that you're not seeking a soulmate. What you're doing is working through who would be a good enough partner for me and maintain that a great relationship is built. It's not found. So when you go through life, you may find some good enough partners you reject because you're looking for this kind of list of things that you think is going to meet your needs. A lot of times those lists fail. The things you think are important grow to be less and less important over the years. It happens that way for a lot of people. And that has to do with we're not building relationships from a foundation up and keeping them stable and being on the same page and working through all of the complexities like our histories, how that can influence all these things. So you have to build the relationship with the right person for you. But it doesn't need to be a soulmate. This just needs to be somebody who is loyal and committed and, gets all of the things that you guys decide is the foundation of your personal relationship. And then you're building that together with somebody instead of just magically finding yourself in a situation, not knowing how you got there, and then wondering how you lost it. That's all just blind kind of wishful thinking. And sometimes you get very lucky. Not everybody does, though. So great relationships are something that's built, and they don't have to be perfect. They just have to be somebody who's with you every step of the way. And a lot of times in substance abuse and domestic violence and narcissistic kind of situations, you're not going to find that. You're going to be the one doing all the work while they're over there watching you from the sidelines. A great relationship is going to be one that is being built with you, not watching you build it, and it includes real repair. So there's lots of components to a great relationship. So bust your loneliness by remembering you're not the problem. You just have not discovered the person that is going to be there for you through the years, and they may not be right there in your neighborhood. So there may be a little bit of work to do to get there, but break through your loneliness by realizing you're not trying to find some magical soulmate. It just needs to be somebody who's good enough and willing to be there and be committed to see you through the years while you guys work to meet each other's needs the best you can. Just good enough is all you really need. So go out there, bust your loneliness, and join me over at renewthelove.com and join the academy to learn more. See you guys around.